War rages across the mortal realms. New alliances are formed while others lie shattered, and the dominant powers ever seek their next conquest. While this and countless other battles rage on, one fact is becoming clear. The season of war has begun. This video is brought to you by the support of our channel members and our FLGS partner, Warpfire Minis. Baron of Dice is the exclusive dice supplier for Season of War. Take a look through their incredible designs or even get your own custom dice made.
Hello and welcome to Season of War! Today we are excited to bring you another game of Age of Sigmar. My name's Jordan. I am joined by Mike tonight. And Mike, you're bringing out the Disciples of Tzeentch post-battle stroll to see how things fare.
Yeah, I lost a few models, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think we were looking through and your list went up 180 points and then down 10 for the streamers.
Yeah, so I definitely had to make some changes, but I think they're still good army. We'll see how that works.
Yeah, very excited to see it. But jumping into this match, the mission we're playing today is shifting objectives. So there's 3 objectives across the table. For storing, one of these objectives will randomly be chosen to be the primary objective. It's worth 2 points, and then the other 2 objectives, the secondary ones, are worth 1 point each. And then you also can get 2 more points for the maximum of 6 if you hold more objectives than your opponent. And if you are the underdog in this mission, it's actually pretty big because you can force a reroll for which objective becomes the primary one. So it can be very advantageous if your whole army's on one and you get the primary. So that is definitely a notable aspect. But that's it for the mission. Mike, do you want to take us through your list?
Yeah, I've got my general's regiment. I've got Kairos with some blue horrors, 20 blue horrors, and I've got 2 units of 6 flamers as well in the general's regiment. In the second regiment, I have a Lord of Tzeentch with some pink horrors, 3 screamers, and a chaos spawn over here. He has got the illusionist and 9/9 tome, so that gives him a -1 to hit wholly within his combat range, and +1 to cast and banish.
Well, facing off against you, we've got the Daughters of Khaine, and I'm running the Scath Coven here, so it's going to allow me to get a strike first on the charge with my Melusai if they make a charge roll of 8+, plus their own built-in kind of snake tails, potentially able to manipulate the combat engagements in this one. But for my General's Regiment, I have Morathi Khaine, and she is of course accompanied by the Shadow Queen, and I have a unit of 10 Blood Sisters in her regiment as well, and a unit of 10 Blood Stalkers. Then I have a second regiment, which is led by my Melusai Ironscale. She's got both my enhancements. The heroic trait allows her to issue rallies on with 3 extra dice, and then the artifact allows her to do a teleport once per game outside of 9. And just in her regiment is 10 more Melusai ready to charge across the table.
Jordan forgot to mention he also has 2 units of Khaine Heartrenders waiting in reserve. Or maybe he's just trying to trick Mike.
But with that, I just had 2 regiments. Mike, you had 2 regiments as well. We rolled off, and you won the roll-off to be able to deploy first. But before you choose who goes first, do you want to choose your Honor Guard ability?
I will take my unit of 6 flamers here, and they're just going to bodyguard Kairos.
Sounds good. Well, I think on my end, I'm going to go for anti-monster with the unit of 10 Blood Sisters that are in my General's Regiment. So they'll get an extra rend against monsters on the charge. But with that, Mike, the decision is up to you.
I'm going to give you the priority, or the first turn. I think Tzeentch likes to have that control throughout the game.
For sure. Sounds good. So let's jump into Daughters of Khaine, turn 1. All right, so into my first turn, let's start with figuring out where the primary objective is. We'll go low on the left. It's going to be right in the middle. And I'm actually going to forego choosing a battle tactic this round, just because I don't want to do take the flanks, and there's not really one that's viable for me to do, so we'll just kind of save it for later and potentially be getting the underdog bonus. But into spell casting, Morathi Khaine is going to start by trying to cast Mind Razor onto my unit of 10 snakes in the center. And she'll get that off with a 9.
So I'm going to attempt to unbind from the Lord of Tzeentch here on a 12.
All right, you do that. Next, I guess we'll try and cast the Incarnate. And that'll just go off with an 8.
And we'll roll for another unbind on an 8, so I match it.
Nice, we get it. Then with her last spell, Marathi's just going to try and cast Steed of Shadows on herself, which she'll fail with a 3. And that's going to be it for my hero phase.
So I'd like to do a magical intervention, and we're just going to cast from Kairos. We're just going to try to get the Suffocating Gravetide out this turn. So we get that on a 9.
So I'll try to unbind that. No, you got it. And with that, we'll jump into movement. I am going to start off by spending a command point with Marathi just to auto-run her Sitch, so at the double, just so I can get her on to touch this objective. And that's gonna be it for my movement.
I'd like to do a redeploy, actually. I think I'm just gonna get some movement out of my horrors here. I'm gonna roll for my blue horrors just to get some movement. 5.
And with that, I have no charging, no shooting in range, so no fun things this turn, but we do get on all the objectives here, which is big, because the primary gives me 2. 1 each for the secondaries and 2 for holding more than you. So I'll just get the full 6 points here, though, as I said earlier, dropping the battle tactic or foregoing 1 for now. It's generally, I feel like you don't score 4 much this edition, so let's save them for when they're a little more reliable and I'm not throwing myself super far out of position. Yeah, Mike, that's gonna be it for me. 6 points, and that'll send us into Disciples of Tzeentch, turn 1.
So starting out my turn, I'm going to definitely go with take the flanks for the first turn. I have my units set up for it, so it's an easy one. So I guess the first cast, we're going to start out with this Lord of Change, and we're just going to try Tzeentch's Firestorm. So that's going to go off on a 13.
I can't do anything about that.
And we're just going to roll 9 dice, and every 6 is a D3 mortal wounds to the Incarnate. So we've got 2 6s, which will be 5 mortal wounds.
Ward saves? Nope, we'll take 5.
And we are going to mark that as it can possibly be burning in the shooting phase now. His second cast, we're going to actually just do a bolt, Tzeentch, on a 12. And we're going to do D3 mortal wounds to the Incarnate for 3.
Wards? No, we take 3 more, up to 8.
So moving over to Kairos next, we're just going to actually try to banish the Incarnate now. On a 7. So that won't do it. His second cast, he's also going to go for a bolt. On a 9 with the changing dice and +1.
All right, we'll try to unbind that, but we fail, you got it.
So another D3 mortal wounds to the Incarnate for 2.
We suffer them both. Up to 10.
His last cast, we're just going to try to cast the Shackles. On a 9 with the dice change and +1.
And you did it. Can't stop your magic.
So I've set up all the Shackles here. We're going to roll for the first damage on Marathi, and we're going to get 2 mortal wounds.
We take them both.
And the second one's going to be on the Incarnate again for 3 mortal wounds.
No, we need some wards here. We have not made a ward yet. You do take down the Incarnate. I will spend a command point here with Marathi to try and cast her War Scroll spell Shadow Dance, or Mirror Dance, sorry. And I will get that off with an 8.
And we'll roll from the Lord of Change to try to stop it. And we only get a 5.
All right, so that's going to allow me to swap Marathi in the Shadow Queen's position. And that's hopefully going to deter you or make it a little harder for you to take the center.
So jumping into the movement phase for Tzeentch. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 command point to auto-run the blue horse. That's all my movement. Jumping into the shooting phase for Tzeentch, we're going to start out by shooting some flamers at Marathi. So we have 18 flamer shots going into Marathi. This will be on 3s and then on 4s. 2.
But they both go through.
All right, for D3 each, 4, 5.
Well, unless I ward them all, no I don't. So you do the last wound that you can this turn, and there's 3 on the Morathi pair.
And then we're going to shoot the Lord of Change into the sisters here. So we're going to go ahead and spend our last command point on the Lord of Change to do a pull-out attack. Number of shots will be 6. And we're hitting on 2s, so it'll be 4 rend 1.
So we'll have a 6-up save. No, fail them all. Wards, we save 2, so you'll only take down 1 snake.
Just onto the charge phase. I do have 1 charge. I'm going to attempt to charge with the Gravetide on a 9.
And then after your charge, I will spend 2 command points to countercharge with the Shadow Queen. See if we can have some fun. That's going to be a 6. So I think we're just going to dive right in and tag the horrors.
So the start of the combat phase for Disciples of Tzeentch. I don't have any combat abilities.
The Shadow Queen will try and do some mortal wounds on a D3, 2 up. So that will be 2 mortal wounds to the horrors.
6s do not. The fight over here doesn't matter because we can't do any more damage into Morathi, but we are just going to activate the horrors to try to get some movement.
All right, then I'll just go into the fight with the Shadow Queen. So we'll start off with Heartrender, and I will be -1 to wound here because of the burning. That's going to be 2 at Rend 2 for 6 damage, and then 3 mortals for 9. And then the Crown of Serpents, but it misses completely. Then the tail, but does not wound. So just the 9 damage.
So 9 ward rolls, and we make 1. So you're going to kill 4 horrors.
And then I'm just going to have Morathi Khaine fight into your Gravetide. And she'll have 1 at Rend 2 for 2 damage.
2 ward rolls, take 2 damage. And that concludes the Disciples each turn, so I'm only going to score 1 point over here in my battle tactic, 5 points.
So not even letting me have the underdog.
So my hope this turn was, to kind of take the center and take this point, or at least just the center. But unfortunately, Jordan doing that swap put objective control 10 on the center, which made it very difficult. So I had to kind of shift my plan. I was hoping just to tag down small Morathi and can maybe tar pit the big Shadow Queen here for a little bit. Can only see if that pans out.
Yeah, again, it was a double-edged sword with that teleport. I did deny some points, which was nice. Potentially, 4 points that cost you. But it put me outside of my buff ranges, though it didn't see how many spells am I going to get off anyways. But Mike, that'll send us into priority for round 2. That's a 6.
I also had a 6, but you still win.
Yep, I win ties because you made me go first. And I am going to take the turn here and try and kill some demons. So we'll jump into Daughters of Khaine, turn 2. So we'll start off by rolling for the priority objective. So low to the left again. Nope, that's a 3, so it would go here, unless you want me to re-roll it, Mike.
I think I will make you re-roll that, being the underdog.
All right, it is staying on the right side for me. I'm pretty happy with that. And for my battle tactic this turn, I'm gonna go for Do Not Waver, so I have to fight with 2 units and have none of my units slain. Then in spellcasting, Morathi's gonna start off by trying to banish your Gravetide, but we'll fail that on a 4. Then she's going to try and cast Mind Razor on herself, which I'll fail on a 4 as well. Then lastly, she'll try and cast Doomfire onto your blue horrors, which will go off with an 8.
So I will go for an Unbind from the Lord of Change. And we get an 8.
All right, so that will go off, and because it's a unit of 20 or more models, that'll be 6 damage flat, or 6 mortals.
And 6 ward rolls. And we make 2. And the horrors that died will split on a 3. So we lose 2 altogether and we get 2 back.
All right, that's going to be it for my hero phase then.
So I'm actually going to spend 1 to do a magical intervention. And we're going to cast from the Lord of Change here, and we're just going to cast Fold Reality. And I'm actually just going to use 2 dice just to make sure I get it.
Using those Destiny dice.
It'll be on a 10.
So we'll try to unbind that. No, you got it.
Pick him up out of the danger zone.
And with that, I'll get into movement. And that's going to be all my movement.
So I'm going to spend 1 CP and I'm going to redeploy my flamers. 4, 5 inches.
All right, then into shooting. The Shadow Queen does actually get to do her shot in combat, so she's going to try and hit the paint horrors with her gaze. She hits but does not wound. And then I'm going to do some shooting with my bow snakes, the Bloodstalkers. They did move, so they won't be treated on 5s, only 6s, but they're going to have 8 of them in range and targeting your flamers, and the other 2 are going to go into the paint horrors.
I will all out defensive flamers.
And I will spend a command point for all out attack, and we'll start by shooting the flamers. So on 2s and 4s now. So that'll be 13 hitting at rend 1.
And I managed to ward 1, so I will lose 3 models.
And then the 2 into the horrors. We'll have 5 at rend 1.
So I make 1 and I'm going to lose 2 models. So we're just going to go ahead and blow up the 2 horrors onto Marathi on 4-ups. And we get 1 mortal wound onto Marathi.
She takes it. Up to 4. And then lastly, the Iron Scale does have some shooting too, and she's going to target the paint horrors as well. But she completely misses. And that is going to be it for my shooting. And then we can just get into charges, and I will get +1 to charge this turn from the Blood Rights table, as well as having a reroll charge aura from my Iron Scale. So we're going to start off with the unit in the center going for a charge. They did an 8 +1 for 9. And that was a natural 8 charge, so they will be striking first this turn. And then we'll charge with the other Blood Sisters. They're going to get a 7. And that's going to be it for my charges. Then at the start of combat, the Shadow Queen is going to do her rampage onto the paint horrors and do 2 mortal wounds.
Wards. So
no, and that's big because killing a model will give me a +1 attack bubble for all the Melusai.
So we are just going to pull a pink horror here and return 2 blues to this unit over here.
And then it won't really matter, but my Blood Sister units are going to try and give out strike last with their Crystal Touch. So into the blue horrors, I just have to roll a 2 up over their wounds or over their health characteristic. So the blue horrors will be fighting last, and the pink ones, I'm looking for a 3. We failed that one, so the pink horrors will get the chance to fight. And I'm going to start off with the Shadow Queen, and she'll just pile up enough, close to the pink horrors, but close enough to hit the flamers. And she's going to put all of her attacks into the flamers, and I will be -1 hit and wound here because of the Lord of Change's aura and the burning. But we're just going to go for it, see if we can finish them off. So with Heartrender, no mortals though. And we'll just have 1 at rend 2 for 3 damage.
3.
And then Crown of Serpents, we'll have 8 attacks. 5s and 5s now. Just 1, no rend.
5 up save, and we saved it.
And then the Envenomed Tail hits and wounds for 6 flat damage.
And 6 ward rolls. I think they're finished. And I didn't make any.
All right, the tail came in clutch for me there. And I completely brain farted on the strike first, so I am going to go over here with my Blood Sisters. The order here wouldn't really affect anything because those engagements weren't overlapping at all. And I will spend a CP for the all-out attack with these Blood Sisters.
Okay, I'm going to actually spend for all-out defense here.
And I'll be back to 3s with these. And that'll be 7 attacks at rend 1 going through.
6 up saves. We make 1.
So that'll be 20 damage in total.
And 6 upwards. And we do make 5 and take 15. And the blue horrors will split on 3s. So we're going to lose 5, but 10 of them are going to split into brims. So that's your two activations. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the pink horrors. Pink horrors fighting Morathi.
The pink horrors deal a single damage to Morathi, who then deals 1 wound to the Gravetide. The horrors are striking last, so the Blood Sisters fight next, wiping out the rest of the pinks, though 4 come back as blues. Next, the suffocating Gravetide deals another damage to Morathi, leaving her and the Shadow Queen with just 6 health left. Lastly, the horrors all fight into the Blood Sisters and combine to take down 4 of the snakes.
All right, that's all she wrote for combat and the turn. I'm pretty happy with it. All things considered, I would have loved to not have you teleport your Lord of Change away, but I guess I can't be too surprised about that. And it did make me pivot. Don't love going into the blue horrors, but eventually got to work through them, make it hard for you for scoring. You can't just run them into the center. I would have loved to collapse this flank, try and get your chicken down, but obviously that's the trickery of Tzeentch and using all the tools that you have. But I think really, all things considered, it went as well as it could have gone for. I took down the flamers, finished off the pink horrors, and really the MVP is having the primary come down over here and stay over here. I think that's the most important tactical part of my turn. Strategic genius right there. With that, I will get hold 2 and 1 for those 2 objectives and hold more, so that'll be 5 points, and 4 for the battle tactic because I didn't have any of my units slain and I fought with 2. So that's gonna be a big 9 points, putting me up to 15. And Mike, we're to head over to you and to Disciples of Tzeentch, turn 2.
So going into Disciples of Tzeentch, turn 2, I'm just going to go for Slay the Entourage, and we're going to try to kill this unit. That's a big ask. This could be troublesome, but we're going to see what I can do. So for first cast, we're going to start out with Kairos, and we're going to try to cast Arcane Suggestion onto the Blood Sisters. And that's going to fail on A5. For the second cast, we're going to try to cast a Bolt of Tzeentch onto them. And that'll be on a 6 + 1, 7.
We'll try to unbind it. And we fail.
So it's going to do D3 mortal wounds for 2 mortal wounds to the sisters.
Which will kill 1.
And as third spell, we're going to try to cast the Purple Sun. And we're going to get that on a 9.
Let's try to unbind. No, you got it.
And next, we're going to go with the Lord of Change. He's going to attempt to cast Tzeentch's Firestorm onto the sisters. And that will go off on a 9.
My last attempt to unbind. On an 8, you get it.
So we're going to roll 9 dice. And we get 2 6s for 5 mortal wounds.
Wards, we make 1, you kill 2 more sisters.
And then for his last cast, we're just going to go for another bolt onto these sisters. On an 11. And we're going to do 3 mortal wounds.
Wards, we take 3.
And then we're just going to go ahead and roll the shackles onto the Blood Sisters here and do 3 mortal wounds.
We'll take all 3.
And that will conclude the Tzeentch hero phase. And we're just going to go into the Disciples of Tzeentch movement phase. So with the Lord of Change, we're going to go ahead and use 1 Destiny dice to bring back 3 Flamers. And that's the end of Tzeentch movement phase. So moving into shooting, we got to do this in a certain order. So we're going to start with the Lord of Change first. And the Lord of Change is going to shoot into these Blood Sisters here. So he's got 2d6 shots for 7. And we're going to be hitting on 3s for 2 at rend 1.
I save 1, but take 1 damage, you kill another snake.
So in the shooting phase here, we're going to go ahead and make them burning because we hit them with the weird flame spell. So now my flamers will get +1 to wound on them. And we're going to go ahead and shoot with the flamers next. So this will be on 3s and 3s. And that'll be 8 saves at -1 due to anti-infantry.
All right, looking for 6s. We make 1, 7 go through.
And that'll be 16 wounds.
All right, wards. We make 1. That's gonna kill 7.5, and I only have 6.5, 5.5 technically. So you do take him out.
And then we're going to go ahead and shoot with these flamers into these blood sisters. And this will be on 3s and 4s because you're not burning. And that'll be 3 at Ren 1.
They all go through?
D3s for 7.
I ward once, you'll kill 3 more snakes, leaving me with just 2.
So that we're going to move into Tzeentch charge phase. And we're going to attempt to charge these screamers. And we get an 8.
All right, well, I'm gonna try some shenanigans here. We're gonna go for a counter charge with the Melusai Iron Scale. Snake Eyes for 3, she fails. But she does have a passive reroll for Melusai, so counts herself. That's gonna be a 6, let's see if it makes it. And that's just short, unfortunately.
So going into the start of the combat phase for Tzeentch, I don't have anything to declare at the start of the combat phase.
Well, the Shadow Queen will do her rampage into the Screamers and do 2 mortal wounds.
And we'll attempt to ward that. And we take 2.
And then my 2 Blood Sisters will try and crystal touch your horrors. They will, so you're fighting last.
And then we're going to go ahead and actually start with the Screamers on Morathi. They are anti-monster, and maybe we can do a few wounds.
The Screamers deal 3 wounds to the Shadow Queen, then Morathi deals 2 wounds to the Horrors.
And then we got Big Mo into the Screamers. And she won't be -1 to hit here, so let's go in with Heartrender. That's going to be 3 at Ren 2 for 3 damage each.
That'll be 9 wards. And we make 3. So we're going to lose 2.
All right, let's see if the tail can do it. The tail's going to add 6 more damage.
And the tail did it. And we're going to go ahead and fight with the 10 Brimstones first on 4s and 4s.
Lastly, the Horrors manage to take down a single Blood Sister.
So concluding the Tzeentch turn 2, I managed to do quite a bit of damage. I'm only going to get 1 primary point, unfortunately, for this. I do need to play careful. Thankfully, I have that control of the bottom.
Yep.
And it's allowing me to play a little cautious. But I hit pretty hard this turn and did quite a bit of damage. So I'm only getting 5 points, putting it to 15 to 10.
Yep.
Just short of potentially being the underdog in the new system. If I was not on this objective, there was a possible play to go for 6 points under, to be underdog and to double with a tactic.
Well, not underdog, but be able to do the free tactic still on a double.
Which would have been quite interesting. And I would have just potentially swung the game on a dice roll for sure. But obviously I was touching that and there was no way to come off it.
Yeah. Well, that's going to set us into priority for round 3 then, Mike. And I'm hoping for it. That's a 4.
3.
Okay, well, we've got to take it. We've only got 3 wounds left on the Shadow Queen, so we got to make good use of her and jump into Daughters of Khaine turn 3. And let's figure out where the active objective is. So low to the left, it's coming down right in the middle. How do you feel about that, Mike?
I like it more than being on the end, but rerolls are risky because it could just go right back to the end. So we're going to leave it there.
Okay.
I'm just going to go ahead and activate the Place of Power.
You're good.
That's good.
All right, so my battle tactic this round is going to be Slay the Entourage, so I'm going to try and take out your other unit of 6 Flamers. Then Little Morathi is going to try and dispel the Gravetide. She fails on a 6. Then I guess she'll just try and cast Mind Razor on herself and fail it. Then we'll go for a Doomfire into the Gravetide and fail that one as well. Almost miscast, but didn't. And that is going to be it for my hero phase.
I'm going to go ahead and spend to do a magical intervention from the Lord of Change over here. And he's going to attempt to cast Tzeentch's Firestorm onto Morathi. And we will get that on a 9 - 1, 8.
All right, we got to unbind that one. Oh, but we tie it.
So I do have to roll 9 dice, hoping to get a 6 here. And we do get 2 6s. And Morathi's going to take 4 mortal wounds.
All right, we need 2 wards. Nope, she's gone. That's not good.
And then we're just going to go ahead and roll the shackles onto the single Blood Sister here and do nothing.
That'll then into movement. I am going to retreat that Blood Sister because her only hope of survival is rolling a 1 and warding that so that I can rally back the unit next turn. So she's going to suffer 3 mortal wounds. Now we just need 3 more 6s, but we don't. So Blood Sister is down. So I'll just jump into shooting quick and put all the Blood Stalker's shots into your flamers, and I'll spend a CP for all out attack.
I'm going to spend a CP for all out defense.
So 31 shots here on 2s and 4s. So that'll be 15 at rend 1.
On 5s. And we saved 4, and for wards, we make 1 ward, and that will kill 5 flamers.
And the Iron Scale's too far away, so she's gonna have to put her shots into your spawn. So on 3s, 1 at rend 1.
Fails.
For 2 damage. And that's gonna be all my shooting.
So I am going to cover fire for 1 CP on the horrors, just to attempt to put burning on the Bloodstalkers. That'll be 6 at no rend.
5 up saves, we save 3, 6 up wards. Nope, you kill 1.5.
And we're gonna go ahead and put burning on them.
Well, I am still gonna try and get that battle tactic, so I'm gonna go for a charge with my Bloodstalkers. We will be +1 for the blood rights. That's gonna be a 6 total, won't be enough, but I get a reroll from my Iron Scale for free. Into a 3, won't do it. Then the Iron Scale is gonna try a charge and get an 11. So that'll get her into your spawn. And she will be striking first, so we'll just go for combat there. And just for pride, she's gonna do all out attack. On 2s, we got 5 of them at rend 1 for 2 damage each.
6 ups. They all go through, and the spawn is obliterated. At the end of the turn, we're going to roll for the burning, and we're going to get 3 mortal wounds.
This is the first time you've had to roll for it.
Yeah.
But you will kill 2 more Bloodstalkers. And that wraps up Daughters of Khaine turn 3. Yeah, obviously many things out of my control, like Morathi going down. I knew that was a risk of the magical intervention or a miscast or something. I could have put my Iron Scale closer to the Flamers to try to be a threat to go into them, to help out. Obviously, she went for the spawn. But I didn't want to try and secure this side of the board to keep on holding on to what objectives I could for scoring purposes, because I'm going to quickly run out of those opportunities. And I just left that one Flamer, didn't make probably an 8 or a 9 inch charge. So I do fail the tactic here, which is a bit of a bummer because 9 points would have been great, but I will still score 5 because I hold the primary, I hold 1 secondary, and I hold more than you, so it'll be 5 points, putting me up to 20 and ahead 10. But I don't know how long we're gonna hold on to that lead. So Mike, why don't you take it away, jump into Disciples of Tzeentch, turn 3.
So going into Disciples of Tzeentch, turn 3, we're going to take their land. We're going to try to take this terrain piece back here. So starting out here, we're going to activate this Place of Power with the Lord of Change. And we're good. +1 to cast. And as first cast, we're actually going to go ahead and try to banish my shackles to get them out of my way. And we get it on a 7. And as second cast, he's going to attempt to cast Full Reality on these Flamers. And he gets that on a 12. And then we're going to go with Kairos next, and he's going to start with Arcane Suggestion. And he's going to fail that on a 7. In his next cast, he's just going to attempt a Bolt of Tzeentch. And he's also going to fail that. Okay, and for his third cast, we don't really have anything useful to cast. The way the rolls are going, we're just going to prevent him his cast. And that'll be the end of Disciple of Tzeentch hero phase.
All right, I will spend a command point here to rally my Bloodstalkers, and we are just going to get rid of the burning there.
Jumping into Disciples of Tzeentch movement. And that's the end of Disciples of Tzeentch movement phase. Disciples of Tzeentch shooting phase. We're not going to do a lot of shooting. I do want to make a charge here. I have a bit of a plan, so we're just going to shoot just with this one flamer, I think. On 3s, you will get 1 at -1.
Goes through.
For D3 damage, for 1.
Goes through.
And we're just going to make them burning.
All right, well, I will spend my last CP. As futile as it is, I'll go for a covering fire, and I'll shoot at your last flamer. Or not your last, but the last one in that unit. So we'll be on 4s and 4s here with crit auto wounds. And a total of 8 shots hitting.
8 6-up saves. And wards. And he dies. And then we're going to jump into the charge phase for Disciples of Tzeentch. And we're going to start the charges off with Kairos. He's just going to go ahead and use a 9 to make his charge with the Destiny dice. And then we're just going to stop our charges there. There is some method to our madness, and we don't want to overdo it. So jumping into Disciples of Tzeentch combat phase, I have no tactics or abilities to declare. So we're just going to start out with Kairos. Starting out with his curved beak. We're going to get 1 hit.
Oh, God.
And wounds on 3s, and it wounds, that's -1.
Goes through.
For 2 damage. And then with the Staff of Tomorrow on 3s, that's 2 more at rend 1.
Both go through.
For D3s, for a total of 5.
All right, 7 damage. We don't ward any, so you'll take down 4 snakes. And the last 2 snakes will fight back, but they won't do any damage.
So at the end of the turn here, we're going to spend 1 to power through with Kairos. And we're going to do D3 damage to the snakes for 3.
Well, I still have 1 guy left on 1 wound.
And then we're going to roll our burning
No,
for 3 more.
I lied. I have nothing left.
So that was a big turn for Disciples of Tzeentch. Just kind of cleaning up, getting across the board here. Unfortunately, for Jordan, this army's highly mobile and can get around quickly when it needs to. So I was able to get onto all the points and grab a full turn for 10 points.
Yeah, that lead evaporated pretty quickly, as we expected coming into this turn, but yeah, I don't have much left, Mike, so let's roll a quick priority. We can probably talk the rest out. That's a 3.
It's a 4.
Well, you would probably actually give this one to me, I would think.
Yep.
Just for tactics and that. So my best bet is to be a take their land and throw my hero over here, and maybe you would have a teleport and a redeploy to potentially deny it. So if you want to roll those, we can see if I'll get 4 points.
So I will do a magical intervention with Kairos just to see if we can get a teleport. It's cocked. So he will get it off on an 11. And he'll just teleport himself over by this terrain feature.
Yeah, so that would have been before my movement, and I would have had to declare take their land, so I will fail it here, so that would be no points for me. But actually, because you teleported, I would have been able to move afterwards and come jump on this objective, which on a 5 or 6 was the primary, which it was not. So just 1 point here on my turn. Again, I couldn't get my battle tactic because Kairos counts as too many. No way I was going to kill him or anything, so we'll have to settle for 1 point. This is probably the last time we'll have a lead in this game, because I think my Iron Scale is going to be dead pretty quickly here. But Mike, overall, I think this was a solid showcase that Tzeentch is still pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely thought I was going to miss having more stuff on the list, but they're still, the horrors are just still fantastic for taking a hit and keeping your chickens alive here, because the 5-up save isn't great, so you really need to screen them well. But having that control still with the turn priority and being able to just have my casts go off just meant devastating damage. So.
Yeah, and noteworthy, the Daughters of Khaine is, like, looking back, this is a tough match for them. I think the debuffs really hurt an elf army that wounds on 5s, or wounds on 4s going to 5s with the burning. And, you know, -2 to hit, I'm looking at 4s and 5s for my combat attacks with a predominantly combat army is not a great spot to be in when you're trying to chew through all those horrors and all those wounds. And we saw I did have an opportunity to like do some damage early, get in early, put the pressure on, keep you off the objectives, but didn't last long.
I still feel if the initial priority went the other way and there was a double on your end, it could have been pretty catastrophic for me as well. So I was just fortunate in that regard, but it definitely shows when you can control that priority. Tzeentch definitely has a strong hold on the game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you often want to try to overwhelm them, get into you know, on a double, like you said, or with a double, and get in there before they can bring screens back or bring more flamers back, and try and take down the chickens before they repopulate too much. But here you would actually be bringing back what, another 3 flamers, because I killed the one, and then 5 more pinks. So like a significant portion of your army still left on the table.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The 2 birds are definitely costly to run together, but I still feel it is worth it in certain matchups. I think it's still going to be the right way to go. But there's still lots to play with in this army, lots of points changes coming, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, but again, good showcase here, Mike. It was a blast. Definitely happy to showcase that Tzeentch still has a lot of firepower, if you will. So especially because they seem to have been like the army that took the biggest hit on the battle scroll update, so some pretty notable changes as we mentioned at the top of the video, but yeah, you were able to overcome them.
I'm glad. I love this army, I love the tricks, so keep going with it.
And with that, guys, we're gonna wrap things up here. Hope you enjoyed that match. Don't forget, if you want extra content, you can check out our channel membership on YouTube by hitting the join button below this video. Gets you an extra battle report every week, and it goes a long way in terms of helping to support the channel and allowing us to continue creating content. But either way, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon in another battle report.